Hey, welcome back to Diabolic Shrimp, the least professional talk show on the internet. I'm your host, best-selling author and comic creator Josh Grant, and today I am so thrilled. Today is a special show, especially for myself. I get to interview a dear friend of mine that is someone I highly respect, someone that has won Emmys and has put herself out there working in news, and I'm just so thrilled to interview her. Before we get there, if you've stumbled upon this channel, if you've never been with Diabolic Shrimp before, we're a very giving, kind community, and I just love to interview interesting people. I give away a portion of the money I make from my own personal books and from advertising on things like this towards universally good things. Something I want to highlight coming up in a week, Saturday, December 18th at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are doing a charity show. We're doing where if you show up and you participate in the live chat and you just say, hey, I'm going to guess at these questions. We're going to play a game show. And if you participate, I'm going to take 4 of those people that participate by random raffle and give to a charity of their choosing. So if you have a charity you want to come support, just show up and say hi or ask questions. We have actors on there. We have a big time music producer on there. We have all sorts of cool people, podcasters that are going to participate in this game show. So come show up, come check it out. But without further ado, I want to bring on Mallory Davis. Mallory is a multimedia journalist, a director, a web producer, a video editor, and has won 2 Emmys for her work, in addition to all the other great work she has done. And so she is also a dear friend of mine, one of my favorite people truly in this world. So without further ado, I've had her waiting in the wings for a bit. I want to bring on Mallory Davis. Mallory, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Howdy, it is good to be here. So I was asked to bring a show and tell.
There you go. I was gonna say, I don't want to make you wait too long. She's literally wrangling cats.
So my show and tell is my new cat Banks. So I love animals and she's really fun. She was a stray, but that was my show and tell.
I was like, poor Mallory has been sitting there for like 5 minutes in the wings, holding this cat while I was giving my intro there. So Mallory, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp. It's so good to have you on.
Oh, it's good to be here. I'm excited, and good to see you again too, Josh.
You too. I just have to say, it's just such a thrill to get you on the show. I have been wanting to do this since this show's inception a year ago. I set this up, and you were one of the very first people I wanted to interview. And I know you've been busy, and I've been busy, and it's just so great to get us both on here together.
Oh, well, you're too kind. I'm just really glad that I just get to see you again, because it's been a million years, it feels like, with everything.
Indeed. And so, well, Mal, I was like, let's dive on in a bit. I was like, on this show we have a lot of young professionals in the industry, or people just trying to get into writing, and some of them into news and things, and lots of people like to tune in and just hear advice. And I personally just want to pick your brain. You're somebody that's inspired me. Doing this show, like I said, it's the least professional talk show on the internet, because I just kind of figure it out as I go, and it's great to actually be able to hear from a master of the art such as yourself. And so, so Mal, I was like, I know you very well, but I want our audience to get to know you a bit better, and as a professional, working with 9 News and directing and winning Emmys. Let's see what got you there. Like, what sparked your interest in journalism in the first place?
So it's a really silly story, but so I grew up in the Springs, as you know, and we went to, there was a during Labor Day they do like the balloon liftoff, and they have all the like hot air balloons and stuff. And I was walking with my parents, and there was a radio station there doing a live broadcast, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I was like, Mom, I want to do that. And I don't know how excited she was about that, but I just became like really obsessed with like listening to music and listening to the radio. And like one of my favorite things to tell somebody is, hey, have you heard this song? And then they have to listen to me play songs for them for an hour. But so honestly, I was really, really interested in radio. And when I got into college, I was a DJ on the radio station all 4 years, or 5 years. I was there, let's be honest. And
both.
And so I tried to get into that, and honestly, finding internships in radio was kind of hard because radio is honestly so much of it is pre-recorded now, and you'll be hearing a DJ or whatever, but they taped it earlier that day or the day before or something like that. And so once I started expressing interest in, oh, hey, I want to be on air, I didn't get calls back or emails back. So I was like, well, I guess I'll see what this TV thing's all about. And I really just fell in love with it. It was so fun. And in college, the way our program worked, you got to try a little bit of everything. And, obviously everyone's like, oh, you get to read on a teleprompter and do it. Like, that was fun. But once I did my internship it was at 9 News, so I've been there the whole time. I realized, wow, the behind the scenes stuff is way more fun. And so it's fun to, I don't know, just see how everything operates and how you put a whole newscast together and the role that everybody plays. It's very cool.
Yeah, well, and so it's got to be such a challenge sometimes too. Like working as a team with all these people, everyone has to do their part, right? And I'm just so fascinated by like what you do and pulling people together, especially as the director. You have to know all the moving parts. Like what makes you most nervous about all that?
So interesting fact. So at least in news, as the newscast director, I just make what the producer writes, and once I make it happen. So the producer is the one that writes the show, decides what anchor is going to read things or where they want the anchor, and I pretty much just kind of make it happen. And so that's kind of a little.
You're the drill sergeant. You're the boots on the ground.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Don't mess with Mal. She's actually directing this show right now. I don't even know it.
Like, he just knows exactly what I'm thinking, and that's how it's going. But some days, like, it gets really crazy. Like the other day, it snowed for the first time in Denver, like enough to not break the record of longest period of time without snow. So that's good. But it snowed, and you fall out of practice in like what goes into a snow show. Because you have to you usually have a reporter in the field who's driving around. You have, more people to be in charge of, more live shots, more honestly, opportunities for things to not work. And then you have to find a way to go around that quickly and making sure that it's clean on the air. And that's where I come in. And luckily I have a producer that I get along with really well, and she's really great at her job. And so yesterday we were supposed to take boxes, where you have the anchors in one part of the box and a live shot in the other part of the box. And one of the live shots stopped working. And so we were like, oh no, what do we do? What do we do? And so we had to quickly reformat things and skip through our rundown. And so it can get, I think it's exciting sometimes. Sometimes
well, I was gonna say, what do you do when things don't work? Do you automatically have all these contingency plans or whatever built in, or is it just kind of this isn't working and I'm just gonna wing it now?
A bit of both. Usually the default is, can we go to weather, or can we do and worst case scenario, everything is hitting the fan, you're just let's just go to break. And there have been a few times where I've just had to just roll the break, and we're like, okay, we have 2 minutes to just figure out what the heck is going on and go from there. And sometimes we get it sorted out. Sometimes we come back and it's a little crazy. So.
I just find that incredible. I mean, I come from an acting background, so it's always the show must go on, right? But for me on this show, it's like things just go wrong, and I just kind of sit there and just kind of, that's probably the least professional talk show. But it just blows my mind that it's just like you got 2 minutes to figure it out, or it's it's do or die kind of thing. It's just go.
Yeah. And there have been a few times, it's so funny because the thing in news that I found so I've been at 9 News for 11 years, which is crazy. It feels it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but the thing is you have to just like, I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but just go with the flow.
That was actually a great example, Mallory. When you lose I've done that before. I lost my train of thought, and it's like, what do you do when I lose my train of thought and I'm the person talking? You know,
like wait, I just built this up, and there was no climax. But you know, you kind of have to go with the flow and figure it out. And sometimes you get it to work cleanly on air, and sometimes it's a hot mess. And oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is like the thing that I found in news is like you have to have a really thick skin so you can get like super mad at somebody and you guys are like mad, but at the end of the day it's usually like, that was weird, and then you move on and you're like friends again.
So that's actually how I want people to feel on this show all the time. You know, I want them to walk away just like that was weird, you know. So like tell us like, all right, so you mentioned it's like the go-to is go-to weather, right? Because weather is always a great go-to anyways, because it affects everyone's interested in it, right? And you definitely are the queen of weather, Mallory. You started in kind of the news industry a bit with weather and music was kind of your thing back in the day. You used to a lot of people might not know this, but Mallory Davis here used to be a storm chaser. Tell us a little bit about your storm chasing days.
So honestly, so for real, when I was in college, I wanted to be a meteorology major and journalism was my backup. And I was like, cool, sweet, I can be an on-air meteorologist. But it turns out that there's a lot of physics and calculus in meteorology, and I gave it my all, and I just could not do it. So I was like, well, journalism it is, I guess. And but when I was a major, and even a little after I started at 9, I would go storm chase with one of my friends, and he was brilliant enough to finish his meteorology degree and has a cool job now. But he would just call me and say like, hey, it looks like it's going to be pretty bad here or wherever, you know, Nebraska. And we would just like hop in his car he had like his laptop with all his like radars and stuff like that. I usually brought a camera because I wanted to get photos, and we would just go. And what I really liked about it was like super on the whim, super like, oh, well, I don't have any plans today. And he'd call and I'd be like, oh, sweet, we're going to Nebraska. And it was just exciting. There was one time where I was up in Denver here at 9, and I was at work, and he started texting me, and he was like, hey, we really need to go today. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm at work. And we pushed it to the limit because you have to get there in time, because you don't want to get there after the storms build up. And so we just like packed up our stuff and like hightailed it up to North Platte, Nebraska. And it started hailing and like thunder and lightning, and this wedding party ran outside of a hotel just to see like what is going on, and like sirens started going off. Unfortunately, we didn't see anything that day, but there was a
you went to a wedding, like, you got to crash a wedding. No.
Right. I got to sing and have my friend's brand new car get battered with hail. So word of advice, he was like, I should have gotten a rental car. But it was fun. We didn't see the tornado, but we saw like the great, you know, the supercell cloud formations and stuff. But
I'll make Mal for everyone that wants to know. Mallory Davis here actually has a whole weather song. We made a whole weather production we performed on stage, and with the earthquake movie, and but we also had our squall line song. I'll make her sing it later, I think.
I forgot the squall line song, but I remember the earthquake song.
So, but well, we have Andrea Hintz, by the way. It says Andrea Hintz is a music producer. She's gonna be on in a week as well. She's a wonderful author as well. She says, hello, wow, this sounds exciting. It's like my favorite movie, Twister. We both absolutely love that movie, Twister. And Andrea, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you on Diabolic Shrimp. Feel free to throw out any questions for Mal.
So super cliche. When I saw Twister back in the 90s, I was like, wow, that looks fun. And once I got into meteorology, it was like, this is very inaccurate, but still cool.
The only thing accurate about that movie is Bill Pullman actually, or not Bill Pullman, but Bill Paxton always shows up to the Twisters back when he was alive. And so, but okay, so Mal, tell us a little bit. Let's stick with weather for a second. Tell us a little bit about riding out a hurricane, because you got to cover a hurricane and ride that out.
So this is really cool. So the company I work for, usually, like, if there's a big weather event or a big just a big breaking news story, a lot of times our sister stations will be like, hey, we need help, and they'll reach out to other stations to see who can help. And I always love it. I love to go travel, and I know it's usually not the best situations, but I get to meet other people, and honestly, that's the best part, is meeting other people. But so there was when Hurricane Harvey happened a few years ago, it destroyed the Houston TV station. Like, it was gone, and they had to work out of a PBS station in Dallas and still commute back to, like, some of them didn't even have homes to commute back to, so they were just back and forth staying in hotels. And so they reached out to other stations, and in particular they needed newscast directors, and my boss asked me if I wanted to go, and I went. And obviously this was after the hurricane, so I was working out of the Dallas station and helping do morning shows there. And it was crazy. It was just really interesting to see, people working together, and again, meeting new people and seeing how they do shows and stuff like that. And so I wasn't there for the hurricane with that one, but it was like 3 years in a row. The next year in Charlotte, I think it was, gosh, I don't remember which hurricane offhand, but they said, hey, this is going to be big. It's going to hit Charlotte. Let's send people out there to help our sister stations in advance. So I went out there, and I got to work out of the backup TV station, which was a PBS in downtown Charlotte. And it was so interesting because, one, I'd never seen so much rain. Now, the hurricane ended up going north, so we got hit with a tropical storm. And even then, it was just nonstop rain. And I remember talking to one of the production people from Charlotte. I was just like, one, this PBS station we were at, the backup station, there was a river right next to it. And I was like, I don't know if, like, this is the backup station. But it was just amazing seeing this woman. She built a TV station from scratch. She basically built a desk and a chroma key green screen, and she brought in computers so people could go and edit with. In the event that the main station got hit by the hurricane, people could go to this backup and still put on a newscast. And it was so interesting because this woman did this by herself in a matter of a couple days, and I was so impressed with her. She was very cool.
That's
but
incredible.
I got
people. Yeah. That's something I found just through interviewing people too. It's like, people are incredible. People can be resourceful, and if you're ever feeling down in life, just spend some time talking to people just personally, because you can sometimes see, especially in those tough situations. I've been through a flash flood myself, and seeing people band together is the thing that uplifts you.
Yeah, it was amazing. The main TV station made sure we had food. Like, this little lady who worked at the main Charlotte station had made her son do it, but she was with him, drive out food. Like, she drove in the pouring torrential downpour rain and brought us all of this, like, what was it? I think it was like KFC. Like, she brought us KFC, and she was like, I'm so sorry, everybody back at the station got barbecue, but nobody else was open. And she was like, you drove out here in the rain and, like, risked your car flooding to make sure that these people that you don't even know who are there helping out had food. And
the ultimate Grubhub.
Yep. Like, sleeping in a PBS was very weird because the room that I had to sleep in had, like, these giant decals of, like, Big Bird and Elmo on the wall.
Say, did they have all the puppets and things? I was like, you just got, like, Kermit staring you down, like, waiting, It
was so weird. And I was like, well, I'll check sleeping in a PBS off my bucket list. Like, that was weird. And so that was an interesting experience. And then the last time I went to go help was a station in Jacksonville, Florida, and it was the same thing. They just needed, extra newscast directors, and that was the first time I'd worked a straight overnight shift. Like I went there and they're like, all right, your hours are 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that's odd. The storm again kind of went a little bit north, so we got just crazy rain, but seeing how fast the clouds moved and how beautiful just the sky just turned red and orange, and the clouds were so low and just moving so fast. It was amazing to see. Just something that you can't obviously see in Colorado.
Yeah.
One interesting thing about Charlotte, though, trees just sometimes randomly fall. Like I was standing outside with the production lady, and like I heard this really loud noise, and I was like, "Oh my God, what was that?" And she was like, "Oh, a tree fell." And she was like, "That just happens. They're old, and the ground here is wet." I was like, "Okay."
I was like, yeah, Mallory and I are both from Colorado, so we're used to like the driest state where it's like, it's like trees don't get so overgrown and stuff. But it's like that'll be interesting for was it Charlottesville's tourism bureau? Like, welcome to Charlottesville. Right? Trees just fall here, and people always hear it in Charlottesville. So what like for you, like let's dive in to the 2 Emmys that you won, right? It's like you've done all this incredible work, so I'm fascinated to hear like what is it that you won an Emmy for, and just tell us a bit about that whole experience.
Yeah, so it's honestly kind of weird how it works. Like, first of all, like I don't know, I feel like in news it's not that big a deal, but you have to like submit stuff yourself, which is kind of weird. But I won one. Hold on, I'll go grab it. Stand by.
Yes, I was like, we're all about shameless self-promotion on Diabolic Shrimp. So definitely, let's show off your awards. I'm expecting it to be really big, actually. I was like, I've never seen an Emmy in real life.
So I think oh they're smaller than the ones that like actors and stuff, like the celebrities get. But this was for 2018. We did a show on, remember when that we had that total solar eclipse a few years ago?
Yep.
And we did a show on the eclipse where we had like our anchors outside on the rooftop, and we had one of our photographers, like I don't remember where he went. He went to Nebraska. He and one of our anchors went to Nebraska because it had the best view of the total eclipse, and they did like a live shot. It was really cool. But I was just happy. It was cool. I don't feel like I really did much because I'm just pushing a button, really.
There's no such thing. The person that turns on the lasers in all the like the Marvel movies, no one ever gets to see that person. But Iron Man would not be able to shoot his laser if that person wasn't pushing the button and turning the laser on.
But I was just happy that I won for something that wasn't like really bad news. Unfortunately, the other one was for, I think it's some sort of like we did a breaking news show on some shooting or something, but this one, it was like cool that it's like, oh, okay, this was a fun show. It wasn't sad, it wasn't depressing, or and honestly it was kind of fun just to you get all dressed up, and before the pandemic they would host it at various locations, and you get all dressed up and you go and not gonna lie, it was an open bar with your coworkers, and it was just kind of a fun, like it was a fun night.
The Star Bar.
But yeah, so that's what it looks like.
That's fun. And Andrea Hintz has been commenting down here, talking about how sweet it was for the lady's son to bring you food, and she also says that is just gorgeous. Congratulations. And
thanks, Andrea. I like your profile picture. That's awesome.
Yeah, and throwing it out there, by the way, we're all about self-promotion here. We want to honor Mallory. I also want to honor people always in the live chat, and Andrea Hintz is one of the most giving people I know. That's why she's showing up next week for our charity show here, our Diabolic Shrimp Christmas special. But I want to honor her too. So Mallory, before we dive in, we're going to do a picture walk here in a second. I've got several pictures I want to know more about. They're from your work professionally here. And so, but before we jump into that, just one more question. And then we'll get some questions after we get a chance, if we have time. But why would you say the news is important?
I watch local news. And I don't really watch like the national kind of news. They just all yell at each other. But I,
hey, that's what I do on this show. Okay, I'm gonna start yelling at you in a second.
We'll throw down fisticuffs next.
That's right.
But local news is important because one, it's local. It is about your community, what's happening in your community, and one, if there's severe weather or any sort of breaking news that people need to know about, it's right there. It's fast. It's people that live in your neighborhood and live in your city. It's not some guy in New York, unless you live in New York, that is telling you the news. It's somebody here that knows the community, and especially now there's been more of a push in local news to cover not just like car crashes or things like that. It's more like, hey, what are the good things that are happening now? And I will say that where I work has made that almost a priority. Like, nobody wants to hear about all the bad stuff happening anymore. Let's find a community that's helping families, or an underrepresented community that's doing something great, or people that are just showing up. And there's just been a bigger push for covering things like that. And I think that's so important, because not only do you learn more about your neighbors, but it just makes you feel good about where you are. And that's why local news is important. And that's why I love what I do, is because you're helping people in a way by sharing their stories. And I'm not on TV, I'm behind the scenes, but I'm still kind of helping do that.
Well, you certainly are. I was like, something I always want to highlight too. It's never just pushing a button, right? It's never, you're behind the scenes. It's being a team, and it takes a team, and everyone does see like the actors up there or whatever when you do. My background's theater, right? But always in the end in theater, you always take a bow to the audience, but it's always the tradition to thank the box, right? That's the last person that gets thanks. It's like, and to the box, and that's what you are. You are the box. It doesn't happen without you, and that's where I got my start too in the business, right? I was a techie back in the day, and so it's all about you.
I'll do another shameless thing about where I work. They let me do things and try things. So if you're ever in a job that, just don't be afraid to ask to try something. I asked them, I was like, hey, can I learn how to shoot video? And they trained me on that. So I shoot the garden segment and edit our like garden segment every week. It's so fun. Like, let's go shoot video about butterflies. And we recently started another series focusing on local businesses in Colorado, and we've done some in Denver, but focusing on local businesses in Colorado, and I pitched that and they liked it, and so we get to do fun stuff like that. So they kind of let me try a little bit of everything.
That's a blast, though. I love that. It's like, and I think that's just so important. Again, I wouldn't have this show. I wouldn't be a best-selling author if I didn't step out there and get a chance to try, and if I didn't have that room to try. And I think that's so important. So good on you, and also good on 9 News for producing an environment like that. So let's do a little bit of a picture walk. I know, Mal, it might be a little bit hard to see on your screen, so give me a holler if I'll pull this up here, and let's hope you can see it well enough. Our audience should be able to see, but we're going to do a little bit of a picture walk here. Sorry. Yeah.
Nope, you're good.
As it comes up here. There we go. I'm going to make it bigger.
Okay.
Come on. There we go. Sorry. This is why the least professional talk show on the internet. And so, Mallory, can you see this okay?
Yes, I can see it fine. And
excellent.
So,
all right. Mallory, I'm going to walk us through a few pictures, and actually have you walk us through, like, tell us a little bit about what's going on. This is a recent one, Mallory Davis, and who is that there with you?
Well, that's jolly old Saint Nick, and I had the pleasure of meeting. Him last week after the 9 News Parade of Lights, which I directed for TV, which was very cool. Like, it's honestly way more fun than doing a newscast, because I sit there and call a show, and I have a technical director who's punching what I call on the switcher, where whereas in a regular newscast, I do all of it by just like pushing a button. But it was
turning the
very
lasers
fun.
on. Okay, Iron Man shoots those lasers
Right,
every time
right.
you push that button.
But it's very different because at least when we do the Parade of Lights, you're working out of a production truck, which they do for like sports and stuff. It's very cool. But yes, that's jolly old Saint Nick. And I was able to catch him after the show, and he was very nice. And word on the street is he shared the photo on his official Santa Facebook page. I've yet to find it yet. It's probably in the North Pole. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And so was it freezing? I mean, working out of a truck. I mean, what do you guys have like a little tent or something, or how do you handle that?
So this year it was fine because it was 65 degrees. Like,
yeah, I know it's been like 70.
There have been a couple years where I'm glad I'm in the truck because it's like 12 degrees. And my first year working I've done the Parade of Lights basically since I started at 9. But the first year that I was working at the parade, I was running a camera and I was on a lift. So they have the lift. I don't know how familiar you are with downtown Denver, but right across that building that's behind us, there's a park, and you're at the back of the park on a lift that's stories high in the cold. Basically, the shot is the wide shot of the building, so you can see the balloons and all that stuff. And I was working on. I was up there, and it was 12 degrees, and I realized that they had the camera strapped down, but not me. And I was like, okay, so if there's a gust of wind, the camera will be fine. And but I had hand warmers in my gloves and my shoes, and I was freezing, but it was fun.
So, well, just make sure if you get blown off that thing, just like make sure you fly in front of the camera because it'll make like a really cool like story and shot, But I give you kudos. I like your like I just push a button, It's like, yeah, okay. I was like, I am not getting up there and getting on a camera. I was like, you're crazy and crazy in a good way. All right, so here we. So all right, so let's take a look at the next one. And I love this shot because like you, I'm fascinated always about the behind the scenes. And we on the general public just gets to see like the camera shot, and so we see everyone that's up there and in that piece. I think it's really fun to see like the people that are actually like holding these cameras, because look at that rig. Like what is that like? I mean, what are you doing?
So we were doing a Steve Spangler science segment where he'll just do a bunch of like funny, fun experiments. And that camera that I'm holding is just like a kind of like a steady cam. It's not quite a steady cam. This one's called a Movi. And the camera is actually like no bigger than like a standard like little DSLR camera. That harness is just what's big. And usually there's like a chest piece or whatever that you can wear, but I hate it because it's just it's really uncomfortable. And I was like, well, at least I get an arm workout with this. But it's just a really fun like handheld camera that you can go and get like tight shots and different shots that like a regular studio camera can't get. And it works really well for if you want motion in the show. So if you want to walk in front of the set, or when an anchor is, let's say, tossing to weather, you can turn the camera and just get a good handheld kind of feel, when you're watching.
Well, I'm blown away by that. It's like I mean, just what is like what are you feeling when you're filming like that?
Yeah, well, it gets really heavy after a while, and I was like, that whole segment, I was holding it up the whole segment, and I'm like, are we almost done? Are we almost done? But there've been a few blunders, like so the directors usually take turns running that camera. So if I'm directing the show, our other director, if we have a Movi shot, he'll do the shot. And there have been a few times he tripped once. Luckily, he didn't drop the camera, but our meteorologist called him out. He was like, "Are you okay?" And like, it was really funny. And I was doing a shot one day, and our meteorologist was walking, and he just points at it, and he's like, "That's Mallory behind that camera." It was so funny. Like, and I was like, and then I proceeded to mess up the shot. Like, I totally messed it up, and I was like, great, he called me out. So I'm sure whoever's watching is, yeah, Mallory shouldn't be doing that anymore.
And that shot won an Emmy. No, just joking.
Oh, I put it on the blooper reel.
Oh
But
man, well yeah, you'll have to tell me. You'll have to tell me about the blooper reel in a second. I'm kind of excited about that one. It's like,
there is one that I edit every week that airs at the very end. It airs on Fridays at the very end of the 6 a.m. show, and it's just everybody messing up. Like
I love that. I love that you put that in the air. I think it's really fun. I think it's important that people show some of the fun in their workplace, right? It's like, especially when sometimes people think the news, like you said, is like typically in the past, anyways, is focused a lot on the negative or what's going on. It's like it's nice that you get to focus a bit on the positive and poke a little bit of fun at yourself too. So, all right, here you are. I this is such a cool shot. Seeing like. Just look at all those buttons. Okay, you say you just push a button. You have to push all the buttons. It's like, look at all that. It's like I've seen like pictures of like NASA's command center, and I didn't see as many buttons. So tell me what it's like. Tell me what it feels like when you sit down to like direct a show. It's like, are you feeling focused or what's going on? And like, tell me just a bit about like a day in the life of the director.
So the way we do shows now, and most stations are like this, it runs on it's kind of like an automation program. So I basically code things. Before we would have a technical director that's punching a switcher, which is why I was saying like the parade of lights was different, because there actually is a huge switcher. Now, if everything hits the fan and we have to switch, like if our program stops working, then we can go and do manual punching, which is honestly more fun. But so basically what I do is after I code my show, I'll go in, and when the show's about to start, I'll do mic checks and make sure all the mics are working. I'll make sure the cameras are set in the right spot for the start of the show, and make sure the producer is in charge of talking mainly to the talent. So the producer will time the show and make sure we get out on time and all that fun stuff. But what I do, so there's, let's see, that's my left hand. That's on that panel. That I look like a DJ in this photo, which is kind of
you
fun.
do. It's
but
like, we're gonna play some of the '80s music since Mallory's a huge fan.
Yeah. But that panel, the bright flashing buttons, that runs graphics. So basically, I will run audio. I will put stuff on air, as in like hit take and put it on air, and I also run the graphics. So the panel on the well, you can see the sliders on my right side. So that's where I do audio. The computer in front of me is my little switcher that I basically hit take on, and like that's kind of it. Excuse me, but on days where, again, like the snow day the other day, where it's just like super last minute, we had some other breaking news overnight, and there's some days where you think you have your show ready to go, and the producer's like, we got to get this in, we have to add this in. So in addition, I have to like code that and make sure it's right, make sure the camera's right, make sure the mics are right. And so it can get kind of stressful, especially in shows where you don't have a lot of time in between. So at the end of one show, the other director will finish his show, and then I have a minute to get in and load my show and make sure everything is queued and ready to go. Yeah, like the break between that particular show is a minute. And some days it's a mess, and some days it's like, all right, like that works.
I can't even. I'm just so impressed. I was like, I've only once on this channel done a back-to-back show, and back-to-back for me was like I had an hour between them, so I had an hour to switch mentality. I had an hour to load up all my stuff for the next person and get myself prepared to interview. So I'm blown away by like, it's just like that turnover. That's incredible.
Yeah. Oh no, is my shot frozen? Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. It does look a little frozen. So sorry.
Okay. As long as you can hear me, that's fine.
We'll just pretend you're standing very still.
Yes, which again, in this day and age, happens very frequently on TV, where your Zoom will freeze and you're like, well, at least they're making a good face.
I was like, the nice thing is everyone can meme it, but I was like, also the nice thing is that in this day and age on my channel, it's super common. It's actually a rarity when people are actually moving on my show. All right, here, let's jump to the next one here. So again, this is just another shot. So taking a look at that screen, kind of like how do you like organize all this?
So this was actually a still from a story that we did about behind the scenes stuff, and
cool. Okay.
it was so funny being interviewed by one of my coworkers because it's like I know, and it was a photographer that went to UNC in Greeley with me. So it's like, okay, I know him, we're friends, and like usually when we start an interview, we'll pin the mic on and just to make sure everything's right and to kind of get the interviewee comfortable, we'll just ask them basic questions like say and spell your name. So if we have to write it out, they have that. And I remember when he interviewed me for the story, I was like, do you want me to say and spell my name? but yeah, so actually, if you see that computer monitor on the top right of the photo, that lists all of the commercial breaks. So when I roll a break, you can see like, I don't know if you can see in the very top right, you see the timer that's like 000. That means like, we're on the air. Yeah, right there. So if I roll a break and it's a 2-minute break, that will count down from 2 minutes. So that way I'll know like, 90 seconds, and then I'll count down and back, 3, 2, 1, and then take, and we're back on the air. But that's what that little monitor is. But yeah, we're mid-show and I'm trying not to laugh because the photographer is like trying to get video of me.
So yeah, well, that's gotta be hard too, because it's like I do know it's like when it gets down to it, it's focus time, and you're focused on just what's going on, and it's got to be a little bit weird to be like filmed while you're also in like focus mode.
It was weird, but so in my headset, usually I'll hear the producer, I'll hear master control. Like if we have a live shot, they'll say like, oh, this person's up on this remote. I'm also hearing the floor director and the camera operator. So it's a lot of communication going on during the show too.
Well, that's I'm just again always just so impressed because like again like you don't necessarily have to like constantly like looking at these buttons down here and stuff like you don't have to like constantly be pushing everything, but at the same time at any time you got to be ready to know how to do that, and that is the skill and the art, I think. And so all right, so coming up next, here was kind of a fun one I found from you.
Yeah, so that's Andrew Mcmahon from the band Andrew Mcmahon in the Wilderness. Or if you really like cool emo music, he was in the band Something Corporate and Jack's Mannequin. So he's been across the board. So I've listened to him since junior high, and he is a cancer survivor. And every year he has an organization that will give back to especially young people, like young adults with cancer, because he was a young adult when he had cancer and found that there wasn't a lot of support for people of like 20s, 30s, And so he started an organization that gets like lifeless kind of people and will help make things happen for them. And it's based in Denver, which I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And the person that runs the organization reached out to us and said, hey, Andrew Mcmahon is doing a benefit concert for his organization at the Ogden Theater, and would you guys be interested in covering it? And I was like, yeah. And so he agreed to do an interview and all this stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, he was the nicest person, because you go and you're like, wow, I've listened to this guy for years. Like, I don't really get starstruck, but it was just, I pulled up behind the Ogden Theater, and the girl on the right, her name is Christina. She's amazing. She was a web producer and was also a fan, and we're like, well, we should both cover this. And so we pull up behind the Ogden Theater, and he gets out of a van, he gets there at the same time. And Christina and I are like carrying all of our gear, and he just looks and he goes, are you ladies the news crew? And we're like, yeah. And he like carried all of our stuff, and like he was so polite. It was such a fun interview. And honestly, that was one thing that I've always wanted to do with my job, is like interview bands and talk about music. And so he was probably my favorite interview. And just the fact that I was like, someone that I've listened to for decades was super nice.
I love that. It's like that's something I definitely connect with you on, and just in doing this. The reason I wanted to do this, I just wanted to hear people's lives and connect with them, and I don't typically get starstruck either, but there's been a couple on my channel too where I've just been like, you're someone that I really like, I've really wanted to meet. So that's and it's just fun connecting with people on a personal level like that. So well, here we go, going back to the early days. you're probably gonna be like, oh, why are you posting pictures of like from back at UNC? But here we are. I was like, so tell us a bit about the early days of newscasting.
Okay, so I didn't even realize until my senior year that UNC had a news station, like a TV station, if you will. And one of my professors asked me to audition for it. He was like, "Oh, hey, you should really audition to be an anchor." And I was like, "All right, cool." And I cold read the script, and it was fun. And so I got to anchor for about a year. I think it was only a year. And this is us just like, I think we read the kicker, like the fun story, and we're just like cutting up. Like,
well, here's the other one from there too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think the guy if you're looking at the photo, the guy in the black suit on the right, I think he still works he did work in TV, and I think he got out of it. The guy on the far right was a meteorologist for a while, and he got out for like family and stuff like that. And I think the guy in the gray suit next to me on my right, I think he's still in TV. So it's kind of cool seeing where people end up and how many people stay in it or move on. But yeah, that's our old set up at Northern Colorado.
Well, I just love. I wish I had a better Zoom capability. Down here it says Mallory coming up on this edition, and I totally would have loved to like have pulled that and thrown that up here as a big picture because just to announce you. But it's just kind of fun though. It's to see just how it's made. And well, coming up here, the next photo is near and dear to me because it's from your early days of news as well. So this is actually just so everyone knows, this is the most professional photo that Mallory has taken in news. So
totally, it's my headshot. Like I use it as my headshot. But
what's going on here, Mal? I don't even know.
This was at the radio station, the UNC radio station, and I was doing my show, which naturally was a 2-hour 80s music show. And you guys, it was you and Ricky, our friends, and I think my sister was there, Haley. And we were talking about, how some people like The Rock do the one eyebrow thing and raise one eyebrow. And I can't. I was like, I can't do that. I just look stupid. And like, I wish my camera was working because I'd try it.
I wish your camera froze on you trying it, to be honest.
And so you came over and said, like, you're like, oh, here, I'll assist you with that. And you just
I transferred it. This is actually a transfer from my I'm transferring it from my eyebrow through my body to your head. And
and also that's about as serious as like the radio show was, and this was back in like the digital camera days. So we had my point and shoot digital camera, and you took a picture of me actually raising my eyebrow. And so like
I just think it's funny because I want people to know this is what happens on radio shows. Okay, like, since you're not seeing it could be as serious or as fun and ephemeral, but behind the scenes, this is what's really going on.
Yeah, and all those millennials can take note of my early 2000s wannabe like emo side bangs. Like, look at that side part. That's very like 2006.
I always liked your hair. All right, it's like. It's so well. They like you said, the millennials can take note of this lovely computer, back over here as well. Right. That's what cell phones used to look like. No, but so and again, radio shows are always fun. Here we go. Here's another shot of the studio. So if you want to go work in radio, this is what it looks like.
Right. Oh, I think I'm like 95% sure I was playing the song "Walk Like an Egyptian" by the Bangles.
You are 100% correct.
And that's my sister in the middle, and you obviously on the right, and our pal Ricky on the other side, dancing to Haley like the pharaoh in the
middle. And our last one, of course, news being the professional thing it is. Here we are. This is one of my favorite shots, and Mallory and I just wanted to include this because, for starters, it shows my really nasty beard from college. That no one will. I buried these photos for as long as I could. Now that I'm moderately a public figure, and but I guess I'll throw him out here for the world to see. My Corsair beard. But Mallory, what's going on here? What were we doing at this one?
Yeah, so this was the it was the walk for, oh gosh, the cancer walk.
It was a Relay for Life.
Relay for Life. I'm sorry, that's what it was. And our group of friends just like camped out. And I remember I was wearing like rubber duck PJ pants, and we just like camped out and stayed up all night in the gym walking around. And I think the radio station did like a live broadcast there, which was kind of fun. But honestly, it was more fun hanging out with you guys and just walking around the track. It's like 3 a.m., so we reached cat hour, and we started talking about cats for like an hour. And I think we all drove like super tired over to
Village Inn. Yep.
Yeah, which is not there anymore, sadly. But yeah, it was a different restaurant now. But yeah, so we just stayed up all night and deliriously ate Village Inn the next day.
I wanted to show this one just to also show off Mallory Davis. You're a very effusive person when it comes to like you put the credit elsewhere. You're a very caring person. Again, this just shows that Relay for Life. We're out there walking all night for cancer survivors, right? And for cancer research, and these are the types of things that my dear friend Mallory does. This is her giving heart. She's the person behind the scenes pushing the button, turning those lasers on. And Mallory, I guess since it looks like your camera is frozen, and so I'll just leave this photo of actually, I'm gonna bring it back to there we go.
I wonder if my I was like, I wonder if my camera would come back if we
I
went.
Could jump out of it. Probably. That's right. But
anyway.
But I wanted to walk us out here because we're running a little bit low on time though. And here I'll stop sharing. Let's see if it comes back.
Great frozen shot.
Everyone, if you're watching this later, if you're not in the live chat, you're welcome to meme this later. It's okay. This is actually Mallory's professional headshot. I'm gonna tell people that this is the shot you sent me to put up for the entire interview.
Absolutely, I love it.
Oh man. Here, I'll just try. I'll try and be frozen, and like whenever YouTube captures like a photo from inside the show, it's always me like that, every one of them. So I'll just be frozen like that if it makes you feel better.
Excellent.
So Mallory, what? All right, Mal, what? We're running a little low on time, so I just wanted to ask, okay. How can we? Because you're such a supportive, kind person. How can we support you or something that you care about?
Yeah. So aside from like my weird photo, this was my serious moment of the broadcast. But actually, I think one, just watch local news, learn about your community, see what is going on. It's so important just to know. You can learn a lot. And I will say, so I guess as like a woman doing this, it's kind of like, I guess, kind of a male dominated profession, especially like behind the scenes. And I always think it's really great and really inspiring to see like young women. I had a college student from UNC reach out to me and ask advice about directing. And I always tell people, find an internship, get an internship when you're in college. That's the only reason I have a job probably is because I did an internship and got to know people. But if, especially to the ladies out there that are interested in anything in television, behind the scenes, on air, it doesn't matter, photographer, like, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and don't be afraid to ask questions and fight to get where you want to be, no matter what anybody says, because it's really important, and it's really great to see women represented in those behind the scene jobs and on camera jobs too. But I just, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I think that's so important.
Wow. Yeah. And that's a powerful message, Mal. And something I want to say that you've always inspired me with is I do remember back in the early days of news, and you were doing an internship, and you were always like, am I asking too many questions? Are they not going to like that? And because you always wanted to know more. And I just remember you used to wrestle with that a bit. Like, if I ask too many questions, they gonna think I don't know anything? Or, and I always thought that was such such a boon for you that you asked so many questions. And I think that's what they saw too. And they said, this person's really interested and wants to learn, and they hired you. And so I think I've always been inspired by that, and never be afraid to ask questions and to learn. And I just wanted to say that that's always been an inspiration to me, Mal.
Oh, you're too kind. Which is funny. I asked one of our directors, I was like, why in the world did they even hire me? There were people way better than me. And he was like, you asked a lot of questions. Like, he straight up was like, you asked a lot of questions. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, that's why I do what I do now. That's why I asked you all the tough questions. So Mal, it's like I said, this has been a true gift to me, just getting to sit with you and talk. I was like, you and I get to sit and talk all every now and then anyway, but to sit and talk with you and get to hear some of your passion and get to share that with the world. Mallory, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Josh. This is so cool. I'm so proud of you for doing all this stuff and having all your writing and your comics and just you're doing something that you're passionate about, and I can tell how happy you are. So I love that. That's amazing.
You're required to say that while you're on there. Don't worry, she'll give me a hard time later.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Josh.
Well, Mallory, hang out for a second. I'm sending you back down below, but thank you so much for being on Diabolic Shrimp.
Thank you.
And so that was Mallory Davis. Just once again, a dear friend of mine, and one of the people I've ever been closest to, and just please do go out and kind of like what she says, follow some of that advice. If you're interested in the journalism field, you're more than welcome to reach out to her. You're more than welcome to leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to pass those on to her if I get anything like that. And you can check out again down below in the description is 9 News' website, and you're welcome to check out some of their stories and reach out to them and learn more about them. And check out some of that local news. And but if you want to support this channel, please do hit that subscribe button. Leave us some comments. I always love being interactive on the show and hearing what you're interested in. And please do check out some of my books as well. They're in the description down below. And please do come back and visit us in a week, December 18th. It's Saturday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are doing our big charity giveaway stuff to different charities. If you have a charity you're passionate about, if you have something you really want to give to and help out with, then come and participate. You don't have to give money. We never take your money on Diabolic Shrimp. This is a free program always. But if you ever want us to donate money to something, we're going to do a big raffle in a week. So please do come back. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just going to be a great way to celebrate a giving season together. And so thank you for showing up today, everyone that did. If you're watching this afterwards, thank you for showing up and supporting Diabolic Shrimp. This has been another Diabolic Shrimp. Have a good night.